People get lost in their own world, but sometimes one small moment changes everything. He thought he was just helping an old lady on a crowded bus. He never imagined her past would break his heart. One empty seat, one silent sacrifice, and one story that made a young boy cry in front of strangers. Ayan was a 16-year-old boy who traveled by city bus every morning to his part-time job before school. His father had passed away 2 years ago due to an unexpected illness, leaving his mother to work long hours at a clothing factory. Money was always tight, but Ayan tried his best not to burden her. He woke up before sunrise, packed a simple lunchbox with leftover roti and egg, and left the house with quiet determination. The bus he took was always crowded. People squeezed in, holding on to the metal poles, tired faces pressed by the rush of morning. Ayan often stood for the entire ride, but on some days, if he got in early, he would get a seat by the window. Those few minutes of rest meant a lot. His feet were always sore from working at the small bakery where he cleaned tables and brought tea to customers. That morning, he was especially tired. He had slept only 4 hours after working late to earn extra money for his school books. His eyes felt heavy, his legs ached, and his back throbbed from carrying flour sacks the previous night. When he boarded the bus, his chest tightened with relief. He found an empty seat near the middle row and sat down slowly. He placed his small backpack on his lap and rested his head against the window. Outside, the city moved in slow motion. Vendors opening stalls, school children in uniforms crossing the street, cyclists weaving through traffic. He closed his eyes for a moment, trying to gather energy for the long day ahead. Around the next stop, more passengers pushed their way in. The bus groaned, as if tired of carrying so much weight. Ayan didn't pay much attention until he heard the sound of light coughing and shuffling feet near him. He glanced up and saw an elderly woman standing beside his seat. She was wearing a faded shawl and holding a cloth bag close to her chest. Her hands trembled slightly as she tried to steady herself by gripping the overhead handle. People around her looked away, pretending not to notice. Some adjusted their headphones, others turned their faces toward the windows. The conductor moved past her without a word. Ayan felt a soft ache in his heart. She reminded him of his grandmother who used to struggle walking even short distances. Without thinking twice, he stood up and gently said, "Auntie, you can sit here." She blinked at him, surprised, then gave a small, tired smile. "Thank you, Beta," she whispered. He stepped aside so she could sit. The bus moved again, and Ayan held onto the pole, trying to keep his balance. His legs were shaking, but something inside him felt peaceful. He didn't know that this small act of kindness would lead to a story he would never forget, one that would touch his soul in a way he didn't expect. As the bus jerked forward, the elderly woman adjusted herself carefully on the seat. Ayan stood beside her, keeping a firm grip on the metal railing. The morning sun had started to rise higher, lighting the faces of passengers who still avoided eye contact with anyone around them. The woman's breathing was slow and uneven. Ayan noticed how her fingers kept pressing gently against her chest, as if she were trying to calm some hidden pain. The bus stopped again, and the crowd shifted. A middle-aged man behind Ayan muttered under his breath, "Kids these days only do such things to look good." Another woman nearby scoffed quietly and rolled her eyes. Ayan heard it, but he stayed silent. He was used to comments like that. In the bakery, some customers would mock him when he accidentally spilled tea or took too long to clean a table. His classmates whispered about his cheap uniform and worn shoes. He never complained, never responded. He simply worked harder. The bus continued its journey. Ayan could feel the strain in his legs. Every turn made him stumble slightly. The woman looked up at him once and said softly, "Are you okay, son?" He smiled politely and nodded. "I'm fine, Auntie." Minutes passed before something unusual happened. The elderly woman held her chest lightly and looked down at her bag. A small white envelope slipped out and landed at Ayan's feet. He quickly bent to pick it up and handed it to her. She hesitated, tears beginning to form in her dim eyes. This is for my grandson," she said, her voice shaking. "It's all I have left for him." Ayan didn't understand, but stayed quiet, listening gently. She took a deep breath. I lost my son and daughter-in-law 2 years ago, in an accident. Since then, I've been taking care of my grandson. He's only 7. Today is his school fee deadline. Her hands trembled and she held the envelope tightly. I have been knitting sweaters and doing small stitching work to collect the money, but I still don't know if it's enough. I'm going to his school now to ask for more time. Ayan's throat tightened. The passengers around them suddenly looked uncomfortable. Some pretended not to hear, while others exchanged awkward glances. The woman wiped her eyes with the edge of her shawl. I didn't eat last night so I could save the bus fare. I walked most of the way and only took the bus for the last few stops. For a few seconds, no one spoke. The murmurs stopped. Even the loud rattle of the bus felt quieter. Ayan lowered his gaze. He felt a sudden pain in his heart. Not for himself, but for this woman who was fighting silently, just like his mother once did for him. He remembered the nights when his mother would say she wasn't hungry and give him the last piece of roti. The world around him blurred. He realized that sometimes people carry mountains of pain while others remain blind to it, until kindness opens a door to their story. The bus continued to move through the busy streets, but inside time felt still. Ayan looked at the old woman sitting with her head slightly bent, trying to hold back her tears. He could feel the weight of her words pressing against his chest. He quickly reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded note, his earnings from the bakery. It was the money he had been saving to help his mother pay for his school uniform and books. He hesitated for a moment, thinking of his own needs, then looked at the woman again. Without drawing attention, he leaned slightly and said, "Auntie, how much are the fees?" She looked at him, unsure if she should answer. 3,000 rupees, she whispered. I have 2,500. I'm short by 500, Ayan's breath caught. He had exactly 500 in his pocket. He gently placed the folded money in her bag, pretending to adjust the envelope that had fallen earlier. I think it slipped inside, he said softly. She blinked, confused. She opened the envelope and saw the extra 500. Her lips trembled. She looked up at him with stunned disbelief. Son, this isn't mine, Ayan smiled gently. It is now, Auntie. Please don't worry. Her eyes filled with tears. You don't even know me. Why would you do this? Ayan swallowed his own emotions and replied, Someone once helped me when I had nothing. I'm just passing it on. The passengers who earlier ignored her now watched silently. The conductor, who had been counting change, paused and wiped the corner of his eye as if dust had entered it. The woman placed her hand over her heart. May God give you more than what you have given today. As the bus neared her stop, she slowly stood up, holding the bag to her chest. Before stepping down, she gently touched Ayan's head with her trembling hand, blessing him like a grandmother would. Your seat was not just a seat, Beta, she said. It was a place where God tested hearts. Ayan's eyes stung with emotion. He looked away to hide the tears forming. The driver stopped the bus and the woman stepped onto the road, walking slowly but with a lighter heart. When the bus started again, the middle-aged man who had mocked earlier cleared his throat and said quietly, Good job, boy. Another passenger offered Ayan his seat, but he shook his head with a faint smile. His legs were tired, but his soul felt stronger. By the time he got off the bus at his stop, his eyes were wet. He wiped them quickly, embarrassed. But the tears weren't of pain. They were of something deeper, knowing that a small kindness could change someone's day, or even their future. He walked toward the bakery, the morning sun warming his face. He didn't have money left in his pocket, but he carried something far more valuable, a story that would stay with him for life. Kindness doesn't need wealth, only a willing heart. Sometimes a simple seat can carry someone's world. We never know the battles strangers are fighting. A small act can become someone's lifeline. And one moment of compassion can change 2 lives forever.